my name is Diondra Filicetti, and I am the author of the book Engagement Economics, which is on Amazon, in stores at Indigo, and it's also listed at Barnes & Noble. And I'm going to help you get started. So let's talk about formatting. And this is honestly where I learn the most in the publishing process. There is so much to consider when formatting a book, things that you might not even realize that are critical for printing and also for the reader. Starting with your finished or trim size. You'll need to select the finished trim size for your final book. There are many size options, but it's often recommended to select one of the standard trim sizes. The most common trim sizes are 5 by 8 inches, 5.5 by 8.5 inches, or 6 by 9 inches. Engagement Economics is 6 by 9 because I personally prefer books in that size, but that's really just a personal preference. Amazon will also let you do a bunch of other sizes as well, but remember, this also means that your formatted manuscript document size should match that. And so this can be adjusted in the page setup settings in Microsoft Word or any other platform that you might be using to format your manuscript. In your document, it also makes things a lot easier if you set it up in multi-page view to mimic the view of a book. But remember that the first page in your document in Microsoft Word, for example, will appear on the left, while in the actual book, page 1 is always on the right. Some document editors will show page 1 on the right, but not all. So just bear this in mind. The next most important setting is the margins. This is the most common mistake that I see self-published authors make. By default, your document will have both margins equal with your text centered, but your inner margins should be larger than your outer margins in order to accommodate the binding of the book. Because here's an example of where the text is too close to the spine because the inner margins are too small. And so if the reader doesn't hold the book wide open, it's going to be difficult for them to read the text. Here, you'll notice that there's sufficient space on the inner margin to allow for the binding. So inside of your document, inside of Microsoft Word, for example, you'll want to select custom margins. And then make sure the setting for mirror margins is on. And then set your inner margins to be at least a centimeter larger than your outside margins. The exact numbers can change depending on the size of the book. Next, you'll want to make sure that you're using paragraph and heading styles. Using paragraph and heading styles is essential because it guarantees a consistent, professional design throughout your book. And rather than formatting text manually, page by page, styles allow you to apply uniform typography, spacing, and indents in bulk, which saves immense time and seamlessly prepares your manuscript for typesetting. So some of the key benefits of utilizing styles is that you can do global edits. For instance, if you want to change your chapter title font size from 20 to 22 points or adjust paragraph indentation, you only need to modify the style itself. Then all the text that's set in that style will automatically update. Another benefit is an automated table of contents. The software relies on hierarchical heading tags to instantly generate a table of contents. Instead of doing this manually, you can just use styles. And also, using styles will make ebook conversion easier later. As you're setting up your text, you're going to want to ensure that for the body text, you're using what's called a serif font. A serif font is a typeface with small decorative strokes or feet attached to the ends of the letters. These are called serifs. Serif fonts are widely used in printed books, newspapers, and academic papers to improve text flow and readability. Now, the most commonly used serif fonts for books are Times New Roman, Georgia, Garamond, Baskerville, and Palatino. Be mindful of the size of your text as well. Suggested font sizes include 18 to 28 point for chapter titles, 14 to 18 point for headings, and 10 to 12 point for body text. Lastly, you'll also want to justify your text. To fix those wide, ugly gaps in justified text, you can enable automatic hyphenation. so that it'll simply hyphenate words at the end of the line instead of trying to stretch out your lines to make all the words fit. I'm going to share some quick formatting checklists to run through before you complete the manuscript. For what's called the front matter, make sure that you have your book title page, the copyright page that we mentioned before. You may want to include a dedication page. You'll need a table of contents, and you may want to consider having a foreword, which is just a short introductory section at the beginning of your book, which is usually written by someone else. Or you might consider a preface or introduction. For the back matter, you'll want to include information about the author, about other books that you have, any acknowledgments, your research references, perhaps an index if that makes sense, and a call to action, such as asking the reader to further connect with you, maybe to leave a review, maybe to visit your website, to sign up for your newsletter or your bonus materials. And before submitting your manuscript, be sure to ask yourself, are the document pages in the correct size? Are the page numbers in the correct position? Do chapters always begin on a new page on the right side? Are the header and footer correctly formatted? Are all headings and titles properly formatted with paragraph styles? Is the table of contents up to date? Is all the font in black text only, no color? Are the images positioned within the margins, unless they're intended to bleed? And finally, did my PDF export correctly? Once you have the manuscript formatted and exported to a PDF, you can format your cover. You'll need the manuscript finalized first because you'll need to know exactly how many pages are in your book in order to size the spine correctly. Because a book with 100 pages versus 200 pages has a very different spine width. Luckily, Amazon KDP has a resource to help you. They offer a print cover calculator and template, and it looks like this. Now, to fill it out, you'll want to fill in the binding type. So let's say, for example, we're working on paperback. Then the interior type. Most often, books are black and white on the inside. Paper type. Most often, books either use cream or white paper. Reading direction, left to right for English. Measurement units, inches, and then your finished trim size. So in this case, we're going to go with the standard size of 5.5 by 8.5 inches. And finally, your page count. Once you've filled in this information, you can click Calculate Dimensions. And what you'll get is a template auto-generated for you with the appropriate spine width, and then you can go ahead and download that. When you download it, you'll get something that looks like this, which you can use with any of the Adobe design software to design your cover. Or you can send this template to your graphic designer to populate it for you, and have them export a print-ready PDF without any crop marks. I hope this training has been helpful. If so, I'd love it if you could subscribe to my channel or follow me on my social media platforms. Also, feel free to grab a copy of my book, Engagement Economics, on Amazon, and please leave me a review. It would be very much appreciated. In the meantime, I wish you good luck on your journey because you're now officially an author. If you have any other questions, leave them in the comments, and if not, congratulations and see you soon.